Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Stock. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Today I'd like to talk to you about Coinbase and also crypto in general, so Bitcoin, Ethereum. I'll toss in Dogecoin because I know that it's a fan favorite, and really talk about an interesting article that I found with Coinbase, and while the cryptos are still down off their highs, I think it's a great time to talk about them, and especially because I think it sets up for us a buying opportunity for those of us who are bullish on Coinbase or on any one of the cryptos that I mentioned in this video. I think that you'll really enjoy it. I want to get right into it. Let's get ready to rock. All right, so Coinbase, for those of you who aren't quite aware of what Coinbase is a cryptocurrency exchange, and it recently went public and listed onto the stock market, and so now investors can go and trade shares of the company, and I happen to be one of the people who is bullish on this company, one that I think has a huge opportunity going forward, and I really think that we will go back to those 300, even 400 levels as time continues, and I think that we're just going to carry on as it makes itself that leader in that crypto exchange space. I think that, right now they already have a very good economic moat, and that they're just going to continue from there. I have a lot to talk about. I made other Coinbase videos, so if you search Dr. Stock Coinbase, you should be able to find me on YouTube for some of the other times that I've talked about it. Here, I really care about digging into the one interview with one of the representatives from Coinbase, and they say a lot of really interesting things. Something that you need to know is that Coinbase right now, its stock price is highly sensitive to the assets that are under management, such as Bitcoin being a 62% of their holding, Ethereum being another, I think it's like 25, like a quarter of their holdings are in Ethereum. So I'll show those two charts on here. We'll talk about those prices as they relate to Coinbase, and that should help explain some of the downward pressure that we see on Coinbase. But then also when we read through to see the different concerns that we have with Coinbase's future, especially with transaction fees, a lot of that sort of stuff gets addressed, and it's a really cool interview, and I think the transcript from it is really worth digging into and looking through. And if you don't have a position in Coinbase and you're considering one, some of the information that you would find here might help to make that decision maybe a little bit easier if you were going to go for it. But as always, you also want to look for why you shouldn't make a trade. You want to look at both sides and make an informed decision. So for me, I would like to share this with you, and also I have some of the fee structures, all that kind of stuff will come up later. So let me switch over to my screen share, and then we'll keep on going. All right, so first we'll start off with Bitcoin, and you can see the plunge that it's taken recently. It was up around almost $60,000, and then it cut in half all the way down to this bottom of this candle here, just for a little bit, dropped down to below $30,000. It's since then recovered, and that is a very, very long wick. As a matter of fact, if we were to look intraday, we could see how long that lasted. It wasn't there very long. It came back up over 30,000, and I think before the day was over yesterday, actually, we can look at the close that we had here. It looks like it closed around like 38,000 or something like that. And then today, we opened again right around 38,000. Now we're back up over $40,000. And you could see the long wick, not quite as long as that one though, that we have right across the top here. So let's look intraday, see some of the resistance that we're hitting. All right, so intraday, there you can see yesterday, and we had this high point here, right about $40,600, almost $700 right there. And we did pop up for just a moment, but this high that we have over here is also this low that we have over here. So that 42,000-ish resistance that we have, it could hold strong for us. It looks like right around the top of these three, actually four, 1, 2, 3, 4 areas, it looks like we're stuck under $41,000 until we find a way to break through this resistance that we're hitting. You can see that we're getting close as of the recording of this video to breaking up over that level. And I think with these higher lows that we keep seeing, I think the bulls are going to take this back up over within a fairly short amount of time. I think that we could see that. Of course, resistance is called resistance for a reason. This thing could continue to fail and then just fall right back down. We do want to see it keep squeezing or trade sideways. Both of those things would be good. We don't want to see it put in lower lows, especially if you have like a swing trade or whatever short-term trade on this. I think overall it's going to be very successful. But this fall that we saw in the prices for Coinbase that has 62% of its assets under management, or assets on platform, I should say, in Bitcoin, that drop by cutting that in half. I mean, that essentially takes that 62%, and then it makes it only half of what it once was as well. So that's fairly damaging from what we see there. And then their second biggest holding is Ethereum. And Ethereum had that same sell-off. However, with Ethereum, it is worthwhile to point out, this is the first really big drop that Ethereum has ever had. And if anything, you can kind of see this diagonal line coming through here. I want to go on. I don't want to get out the drawing tools or anything, but you can kind of make a linear regression here off the bottoms that brings us right about to the bottom of this candle, and coming sort of kind of averaging off the tops, hitting the top of that. So you get that nice little range. And, yes, we had that ramp up. Then we had that sell-off with some bad news in the crypto space. So a lot of drama around Bitcoin and Ethereum moving in sympathy with Bitcoin. Mind you, with the hard fork that's coming out, I think in maybe July it might be scheduled for. It might be something that you want to check out for Ethereum. And, if you're bullish on Ethereum, you like to read about it, you might want to check that out. But this also being, I think it was 25-ish% of the assets on the platform for Coinbase, this dropping also really is going to affect Coinbase's price. So let's look at Coinbase real quick, and then we'll get over to the article that I was mentioning. It doesn't have a long history of being publicly traded. I did happen to snag some shares on this day. I think I got some at 216, more around like 230 or so. So I am in the green on both of those. I did buy two other times. One time I think it was around like 275, and another one, I don't know. I didn't really have to look. I think the other time I bought it, it was somewhere around that like 250 to 275 range. So I have a little bit of loss on those orders. I have a little bit of a gain on these orders, and I'm almost even. We just need a few more strong days and we'll be there. And I think with crypto coming back into strength, whenever that should happen, I think that Coinbase will also have that as well. And it's nice if we either see this trade sideways or move back upward to break this high here, even if it takes a while to do it. I think Coinbase is one of those long-term plays that's really going to pay for itself in multiples over the years. All right, so here's what I wanted to share for you. This is on Seeking Alpha and the Barclays 2021 Emerging Payments and FinTech Forum Conference transcript. And there's a lot to pick through here. Alicia Haas is the one who's speaking, and she is the Chief Financial Officer. I don't know if it's Alicia or Alicia. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that one. So they ask a lot of good questions, and there's a lot of small talk that we have, and then they go on. Here we go. Here's the first prompt. Could you give us an overview of the business? And then she talks about the different business, and then it's hard to project earnings and all that kind of stuff. Let me see. So the analyst starts asking about the guidance, and then we get this question right here. Can you talk about the drivers that kind of helped you along the way to guide trace? And then she says, sure, happy to, and then talks about the exploding crypto market that really helped them out. And institutional buying is something in the last year and a half that's been huge for them. And then moving on from there, I mean, just looking at all those different big monies that are getting into the crypto space, is astounding. And you should know that institutions contributed very little to the revenue for Coinbase. And that's something that, might change if their business model changes over time. And the retail investors are the ones who are really paying to fund their business right now through the transaction fees. And I'll get to that in a little bit. So she talks about how it's hard to forecast for Coinbase because of the volatility that you have, and talks about some of the software. And moving on from there, if we talk about the monthly transacting users, there we go. These words are hard. No wonder they use MTUs. They raised their outlook, and so that part's awesome. And then here we go. Here's where it starts to get a little bit more exciting. Talk about 3 factors that contributed to the revised outlook. And for that, this sentence, cool, that they're starting to see early signs that their increased investment in sales and marketing are paying off. Sales and marketing, I think they spent like $1 billion or something like that for sales and marketing. And, well, they want to make sure that they are the face of crypto exchanges. And, they talk about that more in here, but they're saying that they're starting to see it pay off. So I expect continued spending within the near term. And I think it's really going to affect their bottom line. And some investors might see that as a negative. But honestly, this early spending, while there's still competition and crypto exchanges are still something that I believe are in their infancy and have a long way to go for ensuring liquidity and security and so on, I think that Coinbase has a really good leg up on the competition, and I think they want to make sure that there's a very wide gap between them and whoever should happen to take second place. They don't want to be second place because they know that whoever takes first place is going to be the one who really holds on to that cornerstone of the market for the crypto exchanges. Coinbase, their mobile app, is in one of the top 10 downloaded apps on both iOS and Android in the second quarter. So in the second quarter, and I believe that their quarters go along with the calendar year. You can fact check me on that one. It's something that I'll have to look into, but I believe that for them, talking about the second quarter, seeing that happen, that's the case, that there's still more people going after their app. And that kind of ties back with what they said about increased investment in sales and marketing paying off. I mean, they're in the top 10. That's an enormous amount of downloads that they're getting for their iOS and their Android apps. So for the second quarter, this would kind of give us a clue and a little bit of insight into what to expect going forward for the second quarter that we have. We could be looking for really good numbers coming out of Q2 and also really excellent guidance going in throughout the rest of 2021 or even the next quarter into Q3. We'll have to see as that comes along so that we can repoint. Okay, another one of the factors she says, along with the volatility that she mentioned, is a big driver, because with the volatility, I'm guessing here's where it's coming from, because she doesn't really go into a lot of detail here. However, when there is a lot of volatility, that there would be a lot of buying and selling, and when that's on behalf of the retail investor, then that transacting revenue that they collect is something that they keep on getting from those retail investors, because that's where a large amount of that money comes from, that these small transactions that keep going back and forth, it just keep on adding more and more funds to that top line, the revenue for Coinbase, and ultimately the bottom line. So then they get to the third point, and it says about the wider variety of crypto assets, and it says listing more assets is one of their largest priorities. Well, yeah, if they want to be number one for crypto exchanges, pretty much any asset that's offered has to be there. So especially if it's one that really takes on any sort of popularity. Now, of course, you need enough market makers on there in order to make that happen. And I can show you when I get to the pricing structure that they have for Coinbase Pro with the whole makers and takers and all that kind of stuff. And they do go through and explain that. If you ever want to look it up, I'll show you that on the next tab when we get there. So they talk about more assets being one of their largest priorities, and that they're putting a lot of work into accelerating that. Dogecoin is coming to the platform. They said 6 to 8 weeks. I think we might be down to that 5 to 7 week window now. So it should come out by early Q3, late Q2 should be about where we're looking at for Dogecoin. I don't know if they gave a specific date. I think that they just gave a date range of 6 to 8 weeks when they first announced it. And so they talk about these three factors really contributing to them. All right, so then whoever this analyst is, asks about the Coinbase fees and whether or not there's a trajectory, I'm guessing, to phase them out, because that's one of the things is that with higher competition in the crypto exchange space, they think that there's going to be a race to the bottom with the fees, where pretty much all of Coinbase's revenue comes from is those fees. Well, if there's a race to the bottom that the fees go to zero, then Coinbase has no revenue or very little revenue, and they have measures that they can put in place in order to offset that revenue, and they also have time, and that's a little bit about what Alicia Haas has to say here. First, she talks about the fact that some of the fees were down, but there's been higher trading volume, and again, that goes with this pricing structure here. I'll show it to you now. So when you look at the pricing tiers that you have here with those different volumes, if you take a look at the fees that are charged from 0.5% all the way down to 0.04%, and on the maker side of it, and this is something that really helps to ensure liquidity, when you have a lot of those assets on the platform or those high volumes over I think it's a 30-day average, that fee goes to zero. So the large institutional holders, the ones who are the market makers, end up benefiting in an enormous way in that they're not paying those transaction fees the same way that smaller investors would be. And just so you can see, they do talk, if you come to this, it's pro.coinbase.com/fees. If you go there and look this up, you can go ahead and read about how the 30-day volume is calculated, and then you can also read what it means to be a maker versus a taker. This video is going to be long enough without that, so I'm going to move on. So here she says, to elaborate and unpack, she says retail users report retail revenue, retail transaction fees. Remember, that's where the majority of the revenue comes from, is from those transaction fees from the retail investors. So that's something that is really important when you read through this, if you read through it on your own. So while a lot of the revenue comes from those transacting users, the retail transacting users making up the bulk of that revenue, if we scroll down a little bit more, this is something I found interesting. It says, I just want to comment that we are not focused on competing on fees. We are not even trying to win on fees right now. So that's not even on their mind. It's not on their game plan. Crypto is not commoditized. There's such an explosion in growth in NFTs and decentralized finance and the crypto economy going to more assets and more use cases. The fees are not the focus point right now. And then, so that's nice to know, but what are they focused on then? And then she does go on to talk about that. What we're doing is trying to win on being the most trusted. That's huge because there's been a lot of scams with crypto, and there's been a lot of hacked accounts and stuff like that. The easiest to use, introducing our users to more and more crypto assets, and offering more ways to transact, earn a yield to engage in the crypto economy, and they're choosing us for that experience. So again, here, I don't want you to miss the importance of what she's seeing here, is that they're being chosen for all of these reasons that she described, and that fees aren't even really something that is the reason that they're being chosen. So I think that that is huge for us knowing, at least in the near term, that Coinbase isn't worried about it right now. It's something that they know that they need to work on, but right now it's about being number one and really ensuring that customer experience and having that trust there and that security there, and also being able to trade the assets that you want to trade, finding them all there. Think about it sort of like Amazon. If you went there and you could only find books, like it was back in the 1990s or something like that, then people shopped there when they wanted books, but when they wanted something else, they had to go somewhere else. Same thing with the crypto assets, that if they only had like Bitcoin and Ethereum, they have a ton there. I want to say they have like 108. They might be more than that now, but they have a lot of assets to choose from, but having more and more of them available will make them more of a one-stop shop as a crypto exchange. All right, so this does go on for a little while longer. But this video is getting kind of long, so I will pick through it and report other things back to you. I do want to leave you with this about the institutional side and why they're being chosen. And it's saying that they're being chosen because of secure storage and also liquidity. I can't emphasize how important liquidity is. I can't emphasize it enough, because if you go to make a trade and the trade won't execute because you don't have somebody on the other side of that trade in order to make it execute, that you can't turn it into whatever other currency you want to make it into, well, then there's no point even trying. And also, the slippage that you would get that would cause you to pay possibly higher prices or to get lower prices than what you want because the market's just not liquid, those are all troubles that you would have. And Coinbase working to ensure that liquidity, and really, when I showed you that price structure, the whole reason that there's this sliding scale for the maker fees, where the biggest makers, starting at $50 million and upward from there, the whole reason that they do that is because they're trying to get more institutions, that they have big money on there, that it ensures liquidity, that there's somebody there on each side of the trade every time to make them as instantaneous of trades as possible with a small spread. So you can read through this. I'm not going to read everything that's through it, but when you look here, they talk more about why they are trusted. They talk about the deep liquidity pool, and they also talk about less operational risk, and then they get into more about security, and that security is critical to crypto. And as somebody who, I had 1.5 Bitcoins, those are gone, and then I know other people who had Bitcoins back in the early, the mid 20-teens, I don't know what else to call them, 2013 2015 range, that they put them into what they thought were secure digital wallets, and they were gone because they weren't on cold storage. And Coinbase being able to offer that sort of security is a really good thing. So let me summarize. Coinbase, the price is down for right now, but I don't believe that it's out. I think that they have a very bright future ahead of themselves. right now, a lot of their price is tied to crypto, and it'll continue to be tied to the different prices that we see. Bitcoin and Ethereum being the biggest two right now because the assets on the platform, those two together make up like something like 80-ish% of the assets that are on the platform. So when they take a nosedive, so does the price of coin, and you can expect that to keep on happening. So the price might be volatile for them for a while, but as they get more assets onto the platform, and as we see different sorts of cryptocurrencies emerge, and as we get more institutions on there, bigger retail interest, I think that we're just going to see a lot of money come into Coinbase, and for right now, they're not concerned about the transaction revenues. So I'm not totally concerned about it in the short term. I think that give them a year's time and see what they develop and see what other revenue streams that they're looking for and what the eventual replacement will be for those transaction revenues. And, will it be as good? Will it be better? Those are things that I'm looking for. So I like the position that I have. I'm going to continue to hold on to it. If I see it drop back down to 208, or if it get close to that 200 mark, I'll scarf up some more. I'll double down on my position. So I don't think that Bitcoin and Ethereum are done with their rallies. I think Bitcoin's going to come back stronger eventually. I think Ethereum has yet to hit its inflation point that it really starts to just like skyrocket. I mean, I know we saw a little bit of that so far. I think really it can catch up to Bitcoin at some point in time. I think it has a slightly different use than Bitcoin does, and I think that there's a lot of good things coming for Ethereum in the future. So Coinbase, if you have it in your portfolio, excellent. I think it'll do well. If you don't have it, keep doing your research on it. Make up your mind on it. See if it's something that you also want to invest in. Thank you guys for your time. If you want to check out my Patreon, that link is down in the description. I got my growth portfolio over there, my dividend portfolio, my weekly newsletter, my weekly watch list of stocks. I also have a private Discord where I jump in throughout the trading week, talk with the patrons that are over there about the different stocks that we're interested in and what's happening within the markets. So that's been a lot of fun. Also, down in the description is a link to WEBULL. If you click the link, sign up, deposit $100, you get 2 free stocks valued up to $1,850. I get 2 free stocks for the referral. It's one of the ways that you can support this channel. I really appreciate you stopping by. Last thing, if you wouldn't mind hitting the subscribe button, the notification bell, the like button, share it with your friends. Remember, these videos are for entertainment purposes only. Always do your own research and due diligence. Contact a financial advisor before making any financial decisions. I'm Dr. Stock. Thanks for rocking with me. Now go get that money.